Good afternoon if you're East Coasty like me.
If you're not on the West Coast. It always takes a minute because I have it pulled up on my computer over here.
Yeah,
and it's
I do
not live
too.
yet. It's not live yet.
Oh, I see us.
Oh, there we are. Yep. Excellent. Hello, everyone.
How's everyone today? It's only been a week since we talked last.
Only a week. All right, Blaze is here. Val is here. Charlotte is here.
Hello, hello.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. I mean, afternoon. Good morning,
Good
good afternoon,
or good night.
good night. Yep. I decided to go wild today.
Frothy coffee
with frothed half and half.
Fancy.
Yeah, but it's still coffee, so it's okay. Julia's here.
Mine is just coffee with like the tiniest splash of cream.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I need in order to make it tolerable. Just the tiniest splash of cream. That's all I need.
I find, I don't know, I kind of ebb and flow with it. Hello, Kimberly. What are y'all drinking? Are you having a warm beverage with us this afternoon / morning?
/morning. Oh, man.
And if you're on the other side of the world, go back to bed.
Yeah. No,
hello, Danielle.
Danielle. Everybody's here. Okay, can I tell you what Amy's here. Good afternoon, Amy. Can I tell you what I did yesterday? Well, actually over the last 2 days.
Yes.
Maybe could you guess what I maybe did over the last 2 days?
Maybe.
After I got back from the beach.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
It doesn't have anything to do with the beach, but it's just, after I got home from the beach.
Reference for time?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if I'm prepared. How do I prepare for this kind of
conversation? What I might say that I did over the last 2 days?
Sleep?
Well, yeah, but that's not unusual. It's something unusual that I did over the last 2 days. It has to do with the farm. Oh,
did you get a cow?
No, but I wish. Actually, we took a step towards the possibility of a cow because of meeting some neighbors that have cows, and they're like, "Do you think you ever want a cow?" And we're like,
"Yes."
Sounds great. Okay, you're getting warmer.
For the cow, or
with the cow, you're getting warmer to what I did over the last 2 days.
Did you get more goats?
Yes. And
did you get an emu?
No. We got 2 new goats and butchered one.
Whoa!
Yeah. So that was intense.
I can imagine. But think of the skills you've just acquired.
Oh, it was an intense emotional roller coaster of a couple of days. Okay, so here's the story. Yeah. So my husband met a neighbor at Renee's ballet recital, of all places. And they were like, "Oh, you live there? Wow, we live right down the road." And they're the ones that have cows. They have like 10 to 15 cows per year that they do. We're like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing." And he's like, "Yeah, we have 2 goats, but our property isn't really very good for goats. You want them?" And we're like, "Yeah, okay." Actually, it worked out because on our property, we have a cattle press. Because apparently they had some cows here at some point, even though our property wasn't ideal for cows. Anyway, so it's just this cattle press that's out on the road. And he's like, "That's your cattle press? Can I have it?" And we're like, "How about we take your 2 goats and we give you our cattle press that we don't need?" And so we made the trade. And the 2 goats, it's a boy and a girl, brother and sister, and they're 3 years old. And our idea is if we can tame the girl, maybe have her have kids and do milk at some point. Although we're working on trying to tame her, and it's not so far. It's not going great, but it's only been a few days. And then the boy goat, 3 years old, he had kind of a lame leg, and he was healthy. Like there's no problem with the meat at all, but it was like they both have horns. They both have horns. They're not used to people. So with the kids and stuff, it was like a little bit sketchy trying to keep him around.
Yeah.
So, we used it as a learning opportunity, and my husband, we did it in the most humane way we could, but it's an intense. We feel like real farmers, it's like, oh man. And then working through it with the kids, the whole cycle of life and death and how something has to die in order for us to have healthy bodies. And so it's been a whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been a whole thing. So anyways, it was day before yesterday that he slaughtered it and, we hung it up and did all the skinning and stuff. And then last night I did all the processing of the meat and got it all put in the freezer. So we got close to 30 pounds of meat in the end, which is not a ton, but it wasn't a gigantic goat. So anyways,
30 pounds is 30 pounds.
Yeah. And good quality, and it was intense. It's like you go through that and you're like, well, we're not going to waste any of this, Right. Whereas if it's just something you buy from the grocery store, you're like, it went bad before I could use it. Whatever.
It didn't cost you much.
Yes, exactly. This not that it cost us money, but it cost us a lot.
Yeah. So did your CGM reflect any spikes in glucose from the whole emotional experience of that all?
That is a good question, and I did not have a CGM on during those 2 days. So darn it. It had just expired 4 days ago.
Missed opportunity.
Seriously. Yeah.
That would have been a good, interesting test to see just how agile.
Emotion.
Yeah. How that would have all worked out.
Yeah. So anyways, now we are bona fide farmers.
You're legitimate. It's official.
Yeah.
Squatter Farm is a real working farm.
Yeah. Well, I'm worried though, because the idea of doing that whole process with a goat that we've raised from a baby.
Oh, yeah.
A whole lot more difficult. Oh, yeah.
The stakes are a lot higher.
We just met him. We weren't friends yet. So it was okay.
How's the sister responding to the brother being gone?
It's hard to know because we didn't really know them before, so it's I don't really know what her normal demeanor is like. She has gotten pretty, when we first got her, I don't know if she was just scared or what, but she just kind of kept to herself. And now our plan to try to get her to like us after we murdered her brother.
Is this Shakespeare?
It's so terrible. Anyways, it's just feed her out of our hands, not just give her a ton of food that she can eat by herself, but have us be associated with food.
Sure.
But she's refusing to eat from us.
Oh.
So, it's only been a couple of days, so we're going to give it some time and, hopefully she'll come around. But like I said, she does have horns, not as big as the male goat, but she's not safe yet.
Right.
Especially with the kids. So anyways, we'll see how it goes. And we haven't named her yet because if she doesn't tame, she might end up in the freezer as well. I know. So I know that a lot of people don't love the idea that meat comes from animals with faces, and they want to I've gotten comments, from people saying, especially about our goats, oh, please tell me you're not going to do it for meat. And you're like, I understand the emotion behind it, but that's the reality. That's where meat comes from. And so it's I almost respect the vegans more than the people that just say, I'll just pay someone to do it so I don't have to see it,
Yeah.
Obviously not everyone has to do it, but it's just pretending like it doesn't exist doesn't make it go away. And so we'd rather be, involved in the process and understand and feel all the feelings that go along with it and deal with those feelings and
you grow more resilient.
Yeah. And hopefully we don't grow like hard-hearted. Like that's not what we want.
No.
But there is like a growth in, just emotional growth, I guess.
Yeah.
Where we
Absolutely
feel the emotions, we go through the process, and we respect and appreciate it, but it doesn't destroy us,
Yeah, absolutely. I think
What we're working on.
that experience and having that working knowledge for y'all, but then for the kids too, that just really helps to build their ability to be, resilient, I guess is the only word that I can come up with right now. So
Yeah.
that to me,
Yeah.
I'm
Not easy. There's no
I'm
shortcuts.
yeah, I'm jealous of your experience, to be honest.
Well, you need to come visit.
I
Come
do.
visit and slaughter a goat together.
We can do that. We've got some friends from church, and I didn't realize it, but the husband's father raises beef cattle, and his herd is kind of growing. It's grown larger than he really realized. So every year he has about 15 head to like sell. And so our friends were like, yeah, sometimes his dad will just call him up and say, hey, I've got this many beef to sell. Do you have takers? Go sell them, son. And so we were like, yes, please.
I want to be on that list.
We are happy to come and participate in that situation. All we got to do is get another freezer so that way we can store it. And they were like, yeah, sometimes it can be pretty like just like out of the blue when a cow is, ready to be sold. And I'm like, we are the most flexible people on the planet. Yes, we will take your next beef.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm hoping that the relationship with the neighbors, continues to be cultivated.
Yeah.
And either that they'll help us to figure out if we could actually have a cow here, or we could, do trades and give them eggs and we get beef. That'd be great.
Yeah. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I love the whole like not compound living, but like sort of like the small culture of local community whenever you've got neighbors who have different areas where they have some sort of experience or expertise, and then you can trade what like all of those things are so valuable, and the fact that your kids get to experience that, so jealous.
Yeah, like the idea of us having a farm and being able to do everything, like have the garden, have the chickens, have the goats, have the cow, all the things.
You need 4 more kids.
Yeah. And they need to not start as babies. But, if you can work with other people, it's like they do the cows, we do the chickens and goats. It's like, because like they said, their property is not good for goats. But ours is, and our property maybe isn't the best for 15 cows, but theirs is, so it's like working together, bartering, and just, isn't that the way people are supposed to live? Isn't that a thing?
Absolutely. I think that's so cool.
Yeah.
I have much jealous over your current experiences. Like they may not be super fun to walk through in the moment.
Yeah.
But it's like any hard thing. In the moment it feels painful, but then once you get through it, you're like, holy smokes, I am able to get through hard things. That kind of tenacity is something I personally value highly.
Yep. That's what we're going through. And Jeff is really wanting to get into hunting, which I wish Janet and Jimmy lived closer because that would be awesome. But so he like the goat anatomy is very similar to deer anatomy. And so he's like, I might have to field dress a deer at some point. So this was a good learning experience for that as well. So
absolutely. I feel like if you are able to butcher and process any animal yourself, like just having like the skills to do it, like say with one chicken, you can turn around and apply that to pheasants or grouse or whatever you're able to get hold of if like all of a sudden all of your chickens get frozen or something like that. So there's just so many different ways you can take some knowledge and extrapolate it to other areas and be able to survive.
So Kimberly guessed the thing that I was had done this week was yoga. Which is a great guess. which I did. I did my
Yay!
one. I did only one because we went to the beach. I did a lot of stair climbing, a lot of beach walking, and then I did my one yoga and, pieced out a goat. So
Uh,
that was an experience and a workout all in itself.
that's
And Blaze
functional.
asked how many goats we have now. So we still have our 5 little boy goats that we're not planning on butchering. They're our little pet lawnmowers. And then we have the new girl goat that doesn't have a name yet that we're working on. We're working on, yeah. So 6 currently plus 1 in the freezer. Okay, let's see. Vadim asked a question about CGM. Does it have to be scanned each time you eat and after to monitor your blood sugar spike, or does it monitor all your data automatically? Okay, so there are different kinds of CGMs, and the ones that Lindsay and I have used from NutriSense is the program, and the CGMs that they use are Freestyle Libre. I think it's just Freestyle Libre.
Yes.
Yeah, by Abbott. And they will store the data for 8 hours. So you have to scan it at least every 8 hours to get all the data. So you don't only get data when you it's not like pricking your finger where you only get the data when you prick your finger. It stores it. And so if you scan it, you will get the last 8 hours worth of data and it'll show everything. If you go longer than 8 hours, you'll start losing data on the front end. And so you'll have a gap in your data. But yeah, I was curious about that as well. Before I actually used it, I wasn't 100% sure because I saw people scan it. I'm like, do you have to scan it? Is that the same as pricking your finger? No. There are like the Dexcom, I think, is one that goes via Bluetooth and you don't have to scan it. It as long as your phone is close, I guess it will continually be sending the data. So there's different options. But.
Yeah, when I was using my CGM through the NutriSense program, I think I may have had one time where I went 10 hours between scans and
Yes.
I didn't realize it. So when I went back and looked at all of my graphs, I thought, why is there this gaping hole?
Yes.
I'd lost 2 hours because I forgot to scan it right before I went to bed. And I have a pretty steady sleep habit to sleep for a solid 8 hours. So
yeah, me too.
It's one of those things where like I had just forgotten to scan it before going to bed like I normally would have. And
I didn't realize because I don't do sleep tracking or anything. I haven't been wearing my Fitbit that tracks sleep at all. And I didn't realize how often I slept more than 8 hours.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's like, I guess that's good.
I definitely don't sleep more than 8 hours unless I'm ill or about to be ill. But
usually I sleep somewhere between 7 and 9 hours, on a given night.
But that's pretty solid.
I don't typically have an alarm. I'm a homeschool mom. I can get up whenever I want, right? And I don't have any newborn babies at the moment.
Right.
So yeah.
Just a puppy.
Just a puppy, but I have children that take care of the puppy at night.
That's right.
So I'm done with that. I already paid my dues on that one.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I am definitely not one to sleep in, and I kind of feel irritated with myself when I do sleep in just because I have a rhythm and a routine that I really like to do before my children wake up. And I'm finding that my 9-year-old, she is just like me in this respect. She got up today and I want to say it was maybe 10 or 15 minutes beyond her normal wake up time. And she was just like in a grumpy mood. She was like, I lost 15 minutes of my day.
Oh my gosh, that's adorable.
Like, oh my word. And she's not one, she doesn't like to lay around in bed. She doesn't like to wear her pajamas all day. She's very specific. And I'm like, oh my word, she has absorbed all my neuroses. How do I fix me?
That seems to happen with children. It's just a thing. My girls will sleep the entire day if I let them.
Yeah.
They love to sleep. but they stay up pretty late too for kids.
Okay.
So I'm fine with it. I don't like forcing them to get up.
Sure.
Just because I think sleep is so important, and it's like that's when they like to sleep. So I mean, it's not like they do sleep the day away. They'll get
Sure.
up before 9 a.m. and usually by 8.
Yeah.
That's not
Well,
bad.
and I'm finding that my oldest, she's 12 now, and as she sort of like makes her way through the maturing process, she wants to sleep in more and more, even though she still goes to bed at like a reasonable time. It's usually before
Yeah.
9 o'clock that she goes to sleep. And it's just, I know her body is doing a lot of hard work maturing. And so I'm always like a little bit like, ooh, we really do like to start our homeschool lessons around 9 a.m. And when it
Yeah.
starts pushing past about 8:30, I'm like, is she gonna have any breakfast today or time or
Yep. Yep.
anything?
Yeah.
Because
One of
we
those
have,
things. It's like sleep is so important, but it does take
yeah,
time.
yeah,
Uh, okay. So let's see. Go back to some comments.
yeah.
Michael says, greetings from Alexandria, Virginia. That's
Hello,
cool.
hello.
Bruce is here. Oh, Bruce wants to know where to find a virtuous housewife such as ourselves. I don't have an answer for you. Oh, let me pull up the catalog. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe there's some sort of a phone book of virtuous women. I don't really feel all that virtuous.
Oh no, you're very virtuous. So many virtues. You get up early, like that's a virtue, right?
I'm really persnickety. How about that?
Okay. Yeah. Is persnickety a
Um,
virtue? Mary's here. Mary Bueller.
Buller.
Buller.
Maybe
Buller.
Buller. Mary, tell us how to pronounce your last name.
Exactly. Is it like Ferris Bueller?
It
It's not spelled the
could
same, right?
be. It could be, and that would be easy to remember.
Yeah, it would.
Tara,
Let's see. Val says she grew up in rural Ohio. This is why you raise most farm animals. Oh, like to trade? Are you talking about trade? Oh, Alan's here. Hi, Alan. And okay.
Jack's
Vadim,
here. Take the
Vadim
compliment
said
from
they
Bruce,
ordered
please.
the NutriSense. That's awesome. It's doing the CGM. I mean, I don't, unless you're like a diabetic or, really struggle with blood sugar regulation, it's not something that you need forever, probably.
No.
I mean, some people who are really into biohacking, they just wear them, like Steve from Serious Keto. He wears it
Yeah.
all the time. Like that's just how he manages his health.
Sure.
And but just doing it for a month or 2 months or doing like tests on different
Season.
things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it's like for some things that I eat, it's like I would have just assumed that they were spiking my blood sugar more than they
Because of
actually
what they
were.
are. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I was like, wow, I actually can handle this. So it's kind of like expanded my, instead of, because I expected I was going to start testing things and be like, oh man, I didn't have any idea that was spiking my blood sugar. And be like,
Mm.
oh, I better cut that out.
Yeah.
But it actually had the opposite effect where I was like, wow, my blood sugar actually really is pretty stable.
Stable.
And let's kind of push it and see how far I can go.
Yeah. Well, and
So that's kind of interesting.
when I was working with I still have a link for NutriSense. But when I was actively wearing the CGM, one of the things that I noticed is that food was not my major like my major spike in glucose. It was always related to stress. Every single time that I had any kind of spike, it was like, oh well, I was just driving and nearly got swerved into by a major like a big truck or something, or whatever the case may be. Then it was always a stressful thing that created a spike for me, or like raising children can be
You
somewhat
really got to cut that out.
I gotta just
Bad for your
I
health.
gotta eliminate it. I gotta eliminate the driving, gotta eliminate the child rearing. I gotta just do it all.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not valuable to my blood glucose. So
Yep. And blood glucose is the be all end all of everything.
Period.
Yeah, it is. It is like with that, I'm like, well, what do you do? I mean, to be aware of it is good,
Yeah.
but what do you do? Like, it maybe take some deep breaths and meditation before you drive, or
Now, I don't know. I think that it kind of the speed that my blood sugar would come back down was pretty fast.
yeah,
So, I feel like it was just giving me the information that stress does spike my glucose because of
hmm
flight, fight, or what's the other one? Like it's no longer just flight, fight. It's something flight or fight.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't I have to go back and look it up again.
Yeah,
But one of those like just primal responses to
yeah,
any kind of specific stimuli. If my blood sugar would have stayed elevated for a long period of time, I would have said, we've got to do some management here.
yeah,
But because it came back down super fast, that told me that my body must be capable of handling these one-off
right.
stress spikes in a reasonable enough way that it's not going freeze. Thank you,
Yeah, yeah,
Jack. Flight, fight, or freeze.
yeah,
Um, it it like I was able to respond well. I guess I
hmm,
should say. Like
yeah.
it was
Because
a moment and I was able to move on beyond it and it didn't have a long-term impact for me based on the CGM.
right. Well, as long as everything is your body is working the way it's supposed to, it's like
Mhm.
your liver produces the glucose so that you can run away from the bear, and
Or
then
fight the bear.
exactly. Um, and if you're insulin sensitive, your insulin should take care of it. Like the problem
Yeah.
wouldn't isn't necessarily that your blood sugar went up, because that's what it's supposed to do. The problem
Mhm.
would be if it didn't come back down in a reasonable amount of time, or if it spiked too high. I mean, that could be, I
Yeah.
guess, like a sign that your liver is overproducing.
Sure.
I
Sure.
don't know. Yeah,
And the
something's out of
spikes,
regulation.
yeah, the spikes I would see would be usually within a 30-point range during
hmm
those stress moments. So and one of the cool things about the NutriSense is the coach aspect of it, where it can be just like
Yeah,
a separate set of eyes to look at your data and say, I see this here. What was the situation with that? And
yeah,
okay, this looks like a pretty reasonable response. Very good. So I did
mhm,
appreciate that a lot about the NutriSense program. The system was really intuitive, but having somebody else's eyes on it. I mean, I consider myself fairly knowledgeable about my own biochemistry to a
right.
certain degree.
Yeah,
But sometimes because I'm living it, I can't step outside of myself to really consider how our like what other factors might be impacting.
yes.
So
Yeah,
it's good
sometimes
to
we
have
just
that
have like
second eye.
blinders on for our own self. And it's
Yeah,
like it really does help having someone on the outside just having a different perspective, not having those
perfect.
same blinders. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, as far as like the blood sugar response from stressful stuff, I am curious about how much other like stress mitigating
Texting.
practices would help, because that's one thing that my nutritionist coach, whatever, mentioned. She's like, have you ever, tried adding yoga or meditation before bed? Stuff like that. Because I would have, my blood sugar go up when I took my shower in the morning.
Mm,
Um, and so it is interesting to think about like what kinds of things would overall change your blood sugar response.
hmm.
Not that you would ever like have it not happen. Like
Right.
you're supposed to have that. You're supposed to have your blood sugar go up in an event, but just to kind of hone your response so it's as healthy as possible. So,
Definitely.
like that would be something interesting. Kind of it be more of a like a long-term thing where like a week of meditating before bed,
Hmm.
or something like that, and then seeing if overall your spikes were lower. That would
Yeah.
be really interesting.
Yeah. And I
Yes.
almost feel like when you get the CGMs, you think of all the different experiments that you could do, but then there are too many different tracks you could take, and then you get overwhelmed and you're like, well, I can only do this one thing. I'm going to test out beans.
Yes, exactly. Beans are great, by the way.
Unless they're in chili.
Never would have. Oh, then it's not chili.
That's right. You can't put the chili in the beans.
You can't put the chili in the beans.
That's
It's
real.
not done.
That's real, folks. All right, we've missed a lot of people's comments.
Yes. Okay, Jack said that her CGM identified where and when her stress jumps her glucose. Yeah, it's that was really fascinating.
Agreed.
Just to see
Same
that.
for Alan, it looks like.
Okay. Oh yeah, I need to watch, Alan. I need to watch some of your videos with your glucose monitor. I was curious how it was going to go for you. Yep, stress caused yours to go up too. Working out made it go up, but then it comes down. That's definitely what I found too. Because since it's when your blood sugar goes up from exercise or stress, when you're not ingesting any carbohydrates or protein, it's like there's no added sugar. It was already there.
Yeah.
And so it typically will come back down when your body, like and insulin mops up what was produced by the liver. It mops it up pretty quick, and then it goes down even lower usually than baseline, which I definitely saw that as well. Val, talking about the goats again, raise them for food. I had friends in 4-H and FFA who raised beef cattle. You just took it for granted that someday they would be on your table or someone else's. I think we were all the better for it. Yeah. I think just being aware of it and being okay with it and having the emotional resilience to accept it, I think that's a really healthy thing that I want for myself and that I want for my kids. And it's not easy.
Oh my gosh, can you imagine your kids having children and then them coming out to Grandma Nili's house to learn how to slaughter something?
All right.
That would be so cool.
The chickens.
So I've got some other friends at church. We've got lots of friends who do lots of different little farm type things. And one of my friends, her husband works with the same company as my husband, but they've got a little farmette happening, and he created a chicken plucker that speeds the process up. And it's like a drum type situation with, it's kind of looking like a little bit like a washing machine agitator, but on the outside of the barrel, or on the walls of the barrel type thing. And I'm like, I want to see this thing in action so bad.
Gosh, so crazy. Yeah, those are bizarro.
I'm like, if we could pluck chickens super fast, what kind of farm could we get going? I mean, I can't do any of it. I'm not even able to have a sneak of weasels on my property. So
dang it. You got to sneak those sneak of weasels on your property.
I do. We got to figure that out. And if you're unfamiliar with what we're talking about, we do the Fab Four with Amy over at Carnivore's Angel and Janet from Janet Greta. And we had a discussion about a sneak of weasels. So you'll have to go back and watch those.
They have an automatic plucker like that, and it works great. Yeah, I've seen videos of it, and it seems to be pretty efficient. With the you run the hose over it while it's going, and all the feathers just get washed off.
Yeah,
it's crazy. Val says Grandma used to hang the chicken on the clothesline to chop off their heads. Yeah. There are ways.
Simple. And you don't have to worry about getting your fingers from holding their necks.
There you go.
It's logic. Yeah. I like it.
Yeah. We have slaughtered chickens, and we did some research and found out about kill cones. Have you ever heard of a kill cone?
No, but I can imagine what it would kind of like.
It's like a metal cone that gets smaller at the bottom. So you put the chicken in it upside down, and putting them upside down relaxes them. And then their head comes out the bottom, and you can imagine from there. Yep. But we didn't have one of those, and we didn't want to buy one because we only had 3 meat chickens. And so he just cut the end off a traffic cone.
Nice. I was sitting here thinking, what about some tin flashing? That you put, I was like, but you could wrap that around. I'm always trying to figure out how to do it myself.
Yes. Well, the traffic cone worked fine.
It sounds like
enough for 3 chickens.
That's not getting used to mark anything off anymore.
No. Oh dear.
I feel like we've missed a few here and there. Strict, you told us children and teens need more sleep. That is very true. I keep telling my girls, you're never going to be healthy if you don't sleep.
Yeah, Vadim was talking about I assume started keto when it was still on the rise, and one of the influencers on the scene was Jimmy Moore. Yeah, that whole situation, horrible. I definitely started on keto then as well, like back when Jimmy Moore was like the
person
doing keto. Yeah, and he had all the doctors and keto people on his podcast and stuff. So heartbreaking, like just mind-blowingly heartbreaking what went on. That's all I have to say about it. Man,
gotta move forward.
Yeah, now let's talk about slaughtering chickens.
Right. That's a lighter topic.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, no kidding. So we haven't talked about you and your exercise this week. I said I did my yoga and I did my beach walking and my goat piecing, and that was it.
Yep.
What about you?
So I struggle to recall exactly what I said I was going to do, and I don't think I wrote it down. I have a lot of chicken scratch things, but I didn't write that down. I want to say
I should remember so that I could keep you accountable, but I don't.
Yeah, what good is this accountability thing if you can't even like tell me what I was supposed to do?
I need to go back and watch our video from last week.
Okay, so
something. It was like 2 or 3.
So this past week, over the past 7 days, I have done 5 different workouts. So I feel like I really pushed it beyond the stretch. And here's what I've noticed about me. When I have like a smaller attainable goal, I try to punch it in the face with like really going above and beyond. When I have a goal that's like a little bit like a smidge more, I'm like, oh, I'm not even going to bother. So I'm just trying to sit here and sort of tweak how I do things so that I will actually be able to execute properly or well, or whatever the case may be. But I was able to walk multiple miles. I was able to do a couple of in-home workouts, and I was able to do a workout class at my YMCA. So I felt like this week went really, really well. It helps when my husband is not traveling on days when I've got specific classes that I like at the YMCA. So that was very, very helpful.
That's great. You win a gold star for the week.
Yes. Can we put my name on the Stanley Cup? And then if you win next week, we'll send it to you and you get your name on the cup. And then
that's a good idea.
I feel like that could really be motivating.
Although, would that be too much competition though? Because it's like we're all winners here. Uh-oh. I just broke Lindsay.
There has to be a loser, Nili.
We can all get a participation trophy. That's the world we live in.
I don't want to live in that world. There are winners and there are losers, and there has to be a clear delineation.
And I am a winner.
And it's like Ricky Bobby. If you're not first, you're last.
There you go. There you go.
Talladega Nights taught us so many things. Crepes are good.
I need to watch that movie again. In a long time. So this week, I think it's working out well for me to say I'm going to try to get in 1.
Yeah.
But stretch goal 2. Okay. And I don't want to push it too far.
Yeah.
It's still like life is just still busy, This past week, of course, going to the beach. My sister's in town. She's leaving on Wednesday, and I think things will calm down. So I might be able to push it a little bit more upcoming, but
allowing that flexibility.
Yeah, I think I'm going to stick with the 1 to 2. What about you?
I like that much. So because I went above and beyond this past week, I'm going to say 0. No, I'm just kidding. It's
Yeah,
not
you
gonna
have
be
extra credit from this week that you can
I can
apply
just
to next
ride the
week.
wave. Oh my word. Is
Yeah.
that not the way that we sometimes do the things where we're like, I'm going to go through and I'm going to preemptively set myself up for success and then just ride the wave to the shore. And then all of a sudden you're at the shore and you're like, oh man, now I got to paddle back out to go catch another wave so that I can ride it back in.
Mhm.
It's like
Yeah.
you have to always be thinking like, how am I going to get back out there to ride the next wave? um, okay. Reassessing. I think oh Alan, you just did it for me. 3 a week is a
Yep.
good number.
That's
I'm
it.
gonna shoot for 3 this week. Whether it is an at-home workout or walking miles for a day, that'll count as one. And then the sun is starting to peek through. Um,
Mhm.
or being able to go up to the YMCA and do a workout class. So I'm gonna say
Awesome.
3. Thank you for that, Alan. That's good.
Yeah,
We'll
that is
see.
good.
We shall see.
Sylvia says that they never named any of their animals on their farm except for the dog, which
Mm,
is smart. Yeah.
it is smart. Unless you
Yeah,
like to tag them and number them, and then you can say number 373.
yeah. Yeah. We joke that when we get whatever female goat is going to be the mother of the babies, to get the milk, because obviously you have to have babies to get the milk. Then it'll be the mom, and then she'll have a name, and then there'll be freezer meat number 1, freezer meat number 2. You know, like,
That's
but you got to
fantastic.
build the walls in your heart.
Well, what's funny is when we lived in Oregon, we were right there on the river in Fairview, and we would go to church up in Vancouver, Washington, and we had some friends up there who had about 5 acres just north of Vancouver, and
Mhm.
they had 6 cattle or something. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
I can still hear you.
Okay.
Can you
I
hear
just
me?
got a cellular data because the
Okay.
Wi-Fi had hiccups.
Oh, you
So
you glitched for a second, but you're back.
okay. Phew. Okay, refocus. I can do this. So
Friends,
my
Vancouver.
our friends, we were at their house having dinner one evening, and they had about 6 cows. And their little girl at the time, she was like 6, give or take, maybe 7. And they were reading through the Boxcar Children book series, and she wanted to name all of the cattle after characters in the Boxcar Children. So she did. And then
Uh-oh.
when it came time to like slaughter individual ones, she had such a pragmatic perspective on it because she had always grown up with it. It was not a
Mhm.
problem to name the cow, love the cow, and then let the cow feed
Yeah.
you at the end of it. Like she didn't have the hang up about it. So they had slaughtered the one that they had named grandfather,
Oh dear.
popped it in the freezer, and so then they had a different set of friends that had come over and they served them steaks.
Oh
And the
no.
little girl said, boy, grandfather tastes so good.
Oops.
They had a little explaining to do in that moment.
Oh, that is so funny.
I
Children are
cannot.
so innocent.
It's like, but it was just one of those
That's
things. Like she
amazing.
just grew up knowing that we care for the animals so that the animals can nourish us, and it's the
Yeah.
circle of life, and
Yeah.
we accept it, and
Yeah.
we just keep moving forward. But we just maybe don't name them people names.
Grandfather. Yeah. Oh dear. Oh dear. Yeah.
Oh,
Did you ever see that Portlandia sketch where
I never watched any of those. We lived
oh,
there,
they're
but I
so
still never like.
funny.
I'm gonna have to
There's
go
a
and
lot of
find them.
funny ones. But it was one where they go to a restaurant and the I forget how it goes. It's been a while since I've seen it, but the waiter has like all the papers about the chicken that they're about to eat and like confirming that he had a happy life, and they told him his name. It's so funny.
That is entertaining.
It's a very Portland thing. Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna have to expect that from any restaurant that I go to from now
Yeah.
on.
The other sketch that I always loved from them was it was a vegan restaurant they were in, and they had a fart patio. The vegan It's like, nothing has been more true. Yeah, you
All
gotta
right.
watch it.
It's
Some of them are a little
officially,
bit too crazy out there, but there's a lot of funny ones.
it's officially on my list. Officially.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Oh, so funny. Eating grandfather and going to the fart patio.
I need to see
Oh,
that
dear.
chicken's papers.
Yeah, yeah. What was his name? Was he happy? Did he have a good
Also,
life?
how are y'all going to manage that with the goat that you just slaughtered? He didn't have a name. How do we
He didn't
even
have
know?
a name. Yeah. Well, we'll trust our neighbors that he had a happy life.
Neighbor number one.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fantastic.
Yep. Oh my gosh.
Jonna was here. Hello, Jonna.
Yay, Jonna's here.
I think we pretty well caught up.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right. So,
did anybody else have any last minute questions that they
for
were
you.
curious about?
The hot air
Hot air
section.
section, yeah. Been there. Oh my goodness.
Whenever we have any kind of issues of that particular kind, we always just call it the bubble guts.
Yes. Yeah.
The bubble guts.
Yes. It's a very good description. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, whenever we had first started on keto, if we traveled anywhere, my husband would always try to find something like a Russell Stover's sugar-free candy because you know, at home I could make everything with stuff that we were able to, you know, have a reasonable understanding of how it may or may not impact our gut biome. And but you know, like those kind of things that have the maltitol and just like all of the garbage in them, he would have those, and then all of a sudden the bubble guts would just be like a thing, and it was it's no bueno.
Yeah, those are awful.
What is your favorite keto snack? Ribeye.
There you go. Yeah.
Ribeye,
Yeah.
always. But
I
that's
guess
not
if I had
reasonable.
to pick a snack food, it'd probably be cheese.
Oh my word.
I don't
Yeah.
really do nuts anymore much, although I can handle them a little bit better than I used to.
That's exciting.
But
I would say,
nuts have never been really satisfying as a snack for me. It's like,
okay.
yeah.
For
You love your pecans though.
It's awful. So I've gone back and
Bacon, yeah.
forth with how much I consume the pecans versus not consuming them and that kind of thing. And it's just it's such a difficult thing. It's like a rubber band. You stretch away from it and then it snaps you right back. So
Yeah.
I've been working on moderation because it does increase your uric acid, and I just don't want to have to ever deal with gout. And there is a history of gout in my family, so I'm like, I really need to lay off the pecans. And so I'll have pepper jack cheese and pecans, but I'll also throw pepperoni in there. So it kind of is like a variety of flavor profiles. And that usually helps me curb the pecan issue, but pecans, ugh.
Yeah. So have you been consistently testing your uric acid and have you seen a change?
So I have been doing it about every 10 days at this point. I thought I would do it every 5 days, but that was actually unrealistic for me. And I have noticed that when I do eat more pecans, my numbers are a little bit elevated. And whenever I've been off of them for a week or so, my number drops actually by a lot, I think. You know, my
Yeah.
number can be like up in the like the mid sixes when I eat pecans. If I stop eating them and then test, it's like closer to the high fours, low fives. So it seems to be that that's a huge trigger for me. But also back to that whole like, if you are riding the wave of, oh, I've got everything prepared and I can just like ride the wave to shore, once you're on shore, you got to swim all the way back out. And if you don't swim all the way back out, you're not going to be riding any waves. So if I don't go through and prepare more food for myself for like quick, easy things, I will default back to the pecans. And it's just a reality. Now, for a while there, We had eaten through all the pecans, and I purposefully did not buy more. And then we did a charcuterie board when my parents were here for Thanksgiving, or not Thanksgiving, New Year's, and had to have the candied pecans on there. So I did homemade sugar-free candied pecans, and that sent the spiral down. So maybe that's another accountability thing. This week, from
There you
today
go.
through next Tuesday, I will not eat pecans.
There you go. All right. I will try to remember to ask you about that. You're regretting saying that already, aren't you?
I already have the regret. All the regrets.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so Jonna said
best.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. So Val said bacon, great keto snack. Jonna said butter bites in coffee with butter bites in coffee and heavy cream. So butter and heavy cream, or butter bites and coffee with heavy cream. Either way, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. Yes. I would probably, my most used keto snack would be coffee with cream. That's the thing that I have between meals as a snack.
Yeah.
If I feel like I need something, that's typically what I have.
Yeah. If
So
I don't
I
have
to do that.
pecans and I don't know what to eat, I will always brew a cup of coffee every time.
Yeah.
It's
I don't really need snacks anymore.
Sure.
So if I just am bored and I just want something, then it's usually just coffee. Yeah. Fried feta cheese.
Oh.
No, wait. Is the fried feta cheese like with chips, or is the fried feta cheese like a chip?
A chip.
That I need some information on. Because that would be interesting.
I've got something that I'm kind of cooking up in my head that I'm going to be like implementing, that turned out to be top notch as a vehicle for dipping things.
Ooh, we can always use more vehicles.
It's not carnivore, but
don't get too excited.
I'm not too excited, but it's tasty, and
well,
it's easy.
The thing about keto is there are a lot of great toppings and dips, and there is not as many vehicles. So the more vehicles we could get into the mix, the better, I think.
Because you can't fit all the clowns in one car.
Yeah, you could go to town on the topping.
Oh, for sure. And I'm sitting here thinking like, could this work for this thing? Absolutely. Could it work for that thing? Probably not. So let's just keep it. Let's keep it
coming. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. No Ninja Creamy Keto Chow ice cream. I don't have a Ninja Creamy, but you do, right? Oh, you're there.
Oh,
you had frozen for a second, but you're back. Yay.
I do have a Ninja Creamy, and I do enjoy using it. So last week we did talk about Keto Chow. My goodness, the sunlight is just like, it's right there in my eyeballs. Oh, that did not help. Irritating. So I do have a Ninja Creamy. I gave it to my husband for Christmas one year. 2 Christmases ago? Christmas? Yeah. So anyway, so I gave him that. And I did order some Keto Chow.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
I ordered the blueberry pie just because like everybody was just like so over the moon for it. And I got it and I looked at the ingredients and I face palmed because it has blue number 1 in it. And I was like, I mean, that one's not as bad as like red 40 or some of the yellows, but why does it have to be blue? I mean, fortunately, I'm not highly allergic to anything like that, so it's not probably going to be a problem. Yep.
Yeah. Oh,
very last ingredient.
Artificial color.
That was my only heart. Over that, but I've not done of keto or Keto Chow creamies. I try to wind my own base of like just my own understanding of how ice creams work, and those usually turn out pretty well. Like I've done a lot of different ones that are completely dairy free. I've done some that are not of heavy cream. I've done a variety of them, and typically I find that my husband, I do them more for him, and he loves them. Having access to a pint of ice cream at any time, absolutely
Yeah.
fun. But for me, I just wind up not consuming those as often.
Okay, chips out of cottage cheese.
Yeah.
That I have not
So
heard
I
of.
saw
Is that a thing?
I've yeah, that is a thing. Um, I've also seen the Keto twins go through and do that. They tried to do it in a skillet.
Oh,
That didn't work, so they did it some other way. Oh, the microwave. Um,
that's
okay.
weird.
It's not a track I wish to take at this point in time, just
Yeah, that is
because
really interesting.
cottage cheese, I like it, but not enough to make a chip out of it. And it does have a lot higher carb count than some other things that I could make that would
Yeah.
have a better protein to carb ratio. So,
Yeah, with the whole vehicle thing, my preference is always a cheese-free vehicle
mhm.
because cheese is in everything else, or it could be in everything.
Yeah,
And so it's like,
totally.
so I never make like the cheese tacos or the cheese chips that are, just the fried cheese. It's just like, even I don't buy like the moon cheese and the
Yeah,
crisps or whatever because I'm just like, cheese is just great to eat by itself or have on something. If I want a vehicle, I don't want it to be cheese. To
right.
be
Which
cheese.
is why I think things like that, the carnivore crisps or carnivore snacks, like those kind of things, I
Yeah.
think they do so well because they are dairy free. So
Yes.
when you put those combined with some kind of like a dip or toppings of any kind of sort, it really just adds to the experience instead of feeling you're
Right.
just doing cheese on top of cheese on top of cheese. It's kind of like
Yeah.
the fathead dough. It's so
Yeah.
heavy on the cheese, but then you have to pile it with cheese to make it a pizza. And it's just like, at what point do we
Yeah.
recognize that this is a lot?
Yeah. So when you think about like bread or a pizza crust or chips, well, chips are a little bit different, but a lot of them are very low fat.
Sure.
And because usually you're topping it with something very high fat. And so
Right.
with a lot of the recipes, it's like fat on top of fat on top of fat. And you're like, yeah, it's okay for like 3 bites. And then I'm like, I can't do it. I need
And
something a little bit leaner, like the carnivore crisps or like egg white bread or something. That's why those kind of recipes and products have been like so revolutionary to my keto diet because it's just like
absolutely.
I can't just eat the fat on top of the fat on top of the fat all the
Yeah.
time. It's just too much.
Yeah. Yeah. At some point you realize like the palate can only handle so much of like umami or so much salt or so much like sweet flavor, or it can't
Yeah.
be overdone. That's why we care so much about like balancing flavors in cooking.
Yeah.
Otherwise you're just like, I cannot do this.
Yeah.
Although butter, I would argue, is kind of one of the exceptions. I feel like I could just eat a
Yeah.
stick of butter without any problem.
I don't feel that way. I couldn't I couldn't do it. I like
uh,
butter, but I couldn't just like chow down on it. I have a weird thing with fat where if I eat too much of it, it like turns off my satiety and it's like I
mhm.
could never get full. Like
Yeah,
some people say when they add more fat, it's like, oh, I finally feel full. And I'm
yeah,
like, that is not me at all. It's like once I
yeah.
get past a certain point, my body's like, okay, we're in binge mode or something. I don't know what it is, where it's just like my appetite um, gets turned up and my satiety gets turned down. I don't know. Something to do with those hunger and satiety hormones
Right.
get messed up when I have too much fat. And so
Yeah.
I learned that, back when I tried to do the high fat keto and the lower
Mhm.
protein keto.
Mhm.
It totally screwed up my satiety signals where I could just eat and eat and eat and eat. And then like one day I finally was like,
No
I'm just
more.
gonna I don't remember what it was. It was something that had carbs. Maybe it was like a fruit or something. I ate that and I was like full for 4 hours. And I was like, I actually felt full for the first time in like weeks. Like, this
Yeah.
is messed up. There's something wrong here.
Yeah.
So
something is
anyways,
out of
we're all
whack.
different. You know, some people, they go on like the 80% fat and they're like, oh, I'm so satisfied. And I'm like, good for you. I tried. I couldn't
I
do
will
it.
cheer you from the sidelines, not from the field.
Exactly. Yes, but we are definitely all different in that. And our bodies can change.
Oh
So
man, is that not the
my
reality?
appetite has changed so dramatically over the last year, probably.
Yeah.
A
Oh
whole other
yeah.
thing. Yeah.
So um, when it comes to keto products, there's no
Yeah.
real like must have keto products. And if you find a keto snack that you like and it fits within like your body's parameters for what you want to eat and what
And your
makes you
budget.
feel well and your budget,
Yeah.
then go for it. Don't seek validation from somebody else saying that what you love is good, bad, or indifferent. I would say that if it fits those criteria, budget, your health markers, and you like it, it's good for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's in response to Vadim's comment about what about dark chocolate. Goals is very good keto dark chocolate.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you found something
I
that you love,
eat dark
go with
chocolate.
it till you stop loving it or till it stops working for you.
Yeah, or if you're continuing to have a specific health problem and you
Mm-hmm.
can't pin it down, then maybe do a test
Pause.
without it
Sure.
for a week, 2 weeks, whatever. And if your symptoms go away and then you add it back in and your symptoms come back, then you have a lot more information to go on, which
Definitely.
is good. But yeah, I eat dark chocolate for sure, and I will even eat like the not keto dark chocolate, but it's just
Mm,
super low in sugar. It's like
right.
5 grams of sugar for half of a bar or something, and
Mm-hmm.
that works for me. I'm
Yeah.
not I'm not one that will eat that and it'll trigger me to just eat all the sugar in the house, you know.
Right.
That actually satisfies me. So, but
Sorry.
some
I'm getting
people are not like that. You know, one bite of something that has real sugar in it and they're, you know, out
off
at
the
the
deep
donut
end.
store. Yeah.
That's
Eating
me.
their dozen donuts. Yeah.
That's me.
Yeah. So, that's where it's important to know yourself.
That's right. That's right. Know your
Yeah.
truth. But also,
Exactly. Okay, wake up already says, am I the only one who doesn't measure fats or protein or anything and just eat low carb and stop eating when I'm not hungry? Um, Measuring everything would drive me nuts. So I think measuring and tracking is a good tool for certain seasons.
mm,
Some people like that, they enjoy living that way and it doesn't drive them crazy and it's easy for them. And that's fine. But for me, it would drive me crazy if I had to do it all the time. So the only times that I do the tracking and measuring, when I'm making a video of what I eat in a day, those are the only times right now that I actually track what I eat on Carb Manager, just because
mhm,
it's interesting for viewers, you know, and it is a good
sure.
check-in for me every once in a while just to see. One thing though that I'm probably going to talk about on a Wellness Wednesday soon is that since my diet has been expanding a little bit over the last few weeks, I
Hmm.
feel like I need to go back and track to make sure I'm getting enough protein still.
Oh,
Because
sure.
it's like before it was super easy for me to get all my protein in because I wasn't eating any vegetables or very little at least. And so just eating to satiety, I was getting enough protein because that was like the main
Yeah,
thing I was eating. But when I'm having a
right.
salad along with my steak, I'm finding that I'm leaving half the steak because I'm full faster. And so I'm worried that I am not eating enough protein. So that's where I might bring tracking back in for a week or two and kind of reassess and make sure that I'm where I want to be. And then I'll, once I get that figured out, it'll be easy to move on without tracking.
Sure. I
Yeah.
I loathe tracking and I've done it on my what I eat in a day videos in the past, but usually it's not my thing. I've never really liked tracking. Um I've never been super successful tracking. It's one of those
Yeah.
things where if there's a system in place and I have to do it, I will not do it. And if it's
Yeah.
something where I don't feel obligated to do it, I might go back and look at it from the back end. Like, oh, it's
Yeah.
been a full day of eating. How much protein, like you said, like the protein thing. I was tracking a little bit for protein. And then once I realized, like, if I'm getting 100 grams of protein, then I'm probably actually getting 130 grams because I'm not tracking it well in my own mind. And I tend to underestimate the volume of protein that I eat. So if I'm around there, I'm good. But
Yeah.
generally speaking, like, yeah, I'm not one to track. It's a system that I have to rebel against.
Yeah. And one thing to also keep in mind is I love the quote from Dr. Jade Teta where he says, easy is earned. Because the idea that we should just be able to eat and it should be easy and we should stop when we're full. And that's great. But sometimes it takes a lot of work to get to that easy place. And tracking for a certain period of time can be a tool to help you get there. So the years that I spent tracking, I learned how much protein is in these foods and how many, grams of fat are typically in this. And so even though I'm not tracking every day, I still have a good idea about what I'm eating and how much I'm eating just because I have that previous experience. And whereas
Yeah,
someone who's never tracked before, they might be eating a certain way and they have no clue that it's, way far off of what it should be, or they're not
yeah,
eating enough protein. Like they just aren't aware of the kinds of foods that have protein in them. I mean, you wouldn't believe what people don't know about nutrition. It's like for
yeah,
us, it's like we've been in it for so long, and you're like, you need to eat more protein. And they're like, no, don't bananas have protein? And you're like, what? It's like my kids know what foods have protein in them. And I think that's a really important thing to know. But there are a lot of people that just have no clue. Like Kelly Hogan talks about when her doctor first told her to go low carb, she's like, so what is a carb? Do potatoes have carbs? And it's just like that's how a lot of people in the world are. And so for them, it might take a little bit more work
yeah,
to get to the place where you can just easily eat till you're full and be done.
right.
So it always, as with everything, it depends on where we are when we start and what our experience is and what our goals are, and just always have to take our own selves into consideration.
Yeah, the whole equation of health is going to look different for every individual. And
Yeah.
for some people, they have to sit there and figure out, like, okay, my first variable to figure out is tracking to figure out what I'm doing. Or other people like me, tracking is a non variable. But knowing what foods to eat or not eat, that's a variable, but it doesn't have as much weight anymore because I've been doing this for so long. And
Right.
then other new variables are like, how do I lower uric acid? Well, that's a stronger variable for me, or a higher value variable for me at this stage of the game to make that equal health. So everybody's got 7,000 different variables in their health
Yes.
equation, and it just takes a lot of time and a lot of patience, tenacity, to just
Yeah.
keep moving forward and just say, okay,
Yeah.
what's next? I'm going to eat this
Yeah.
elephant
Well,
one
and
bite
then
at a time.
for some people starting at more of a place of health, it doesn't take that much work.
True. That's
And
true.
then for other people who come from a history of disordered eating and, serious restriction and all the mental stuff that goes on with food and body image, like it might take a lot to
Hmm.
unravel. So
Yeah.
there's no easy way.
Yeah. And if you come across somebody who tells you, oh, just do XYZ period, that that may not really suit your specific self at all.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, and Risa's finally made it. She's finally here.
Hi,
Yeah, we
Risa.
stayed on extra long today, just waiting for you, Risa.
We did. We did.
We've
It
been
wasn't
going for an
spoken.
hour and 10 minutes. Yeah.
Gosh, it's been an hour and 10 minutes. That's right.
Yeah.
Oh my word.
Uh, um, let's see. Oh my, I can relate. Most people I talk to don't understand what low carb actually means. And when they see what that I'm eating high fat, they think that makes you fat. Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
My dad started, he told me whenever they were here for New Year's, I want to go keto. And so I was like, great, let's figure out what I can do and not do to support that well.
Yeah.
And my mother, oh man, she just does not understand the whole concept because she doesn't have the bandwidth, I think, well, or the desire to dig into it and understand the chemistry behind what food really does to your body. So yeah,
And there's
it's
a lot that you
hard.
have to unlearn,
Oh, so much unlearning.
especially from that generation. It's just like there's so much that's just assumed to be true.
Yep.
And
But
you have to dismantle that in order to accept bacon's not going to kill you. What?
right.
Bacon fat doesn't clog your arteries. What? That goes
Right.
against everything I believe in.
Well, and the other piece of it is like you can have a white paper study that proves high fat, low carb is going to cure everything. Then you can have another white
Yep.
paper study that shows that if you eat nothing but fruit for the rest of your life, you are
Yep.
going to be the most healthy human on the planet. So
Yep.
it's
What's the
really
person to do?
up to interpretation, funding, how the studies are done. And, I love the message that Nisha, Dr. Barry's wife, says all the time: N equals one. Your
Yeah.
variable equals one. You are the one thing that you have to sort out. You don't have to figure out what everybody else is doing and apply that to you. You just have to figure out what you are doing to give
Yeah.
you the health results that you want.
Yeah. It's all about your own experience because,
Yeah.
like you said, you can read a study that says one thing and you go and do that thing and you're like, well, I feel like garbage.
Yeah.
And then you can read another study and go do that thing. And that one's the one that makes you feel great. Or, and then you continue to tweak until you find
Oh,
what really makes you feel the best. And
mm-hmm.
it's going to be it's like you can't, it'd be great if we could just have the experts that were right. And we could just say, just tell me what to do, experts, and it'd be
Right.
the right thing. But that's just not reality because the experts don't even agree with each
That's
other.
right. That's right.
So, I mean, it just has to come back to what makes you the healthiest. And that can take a lot of work and a lot of, trying to figure it out. It doesn't always come super easy, but what else are you going to do,
I just breathed in weird and choked myself.
Oh dear. Is that a sign
Oh,
we need to get off of here?
and now I've lost all trains of thought. I had something
Yeah.
that I thought was going to be helpful after you said those things, but now I've lost it.
Val says her mother-in-law asked about low carb, but only because her NP told her to try it. That's cool that a doctor's saying to try it.
That is very cool.
Yeah.
Well, and doctors, I think what's difficult about that is I think a lot of people go into the field of medicine with the desire to help people. Like
Yeah.
that is what I choose to believe. I think that's
I
accurate.
think so.
But I think that as they progress through, they become indoctrinated into certain schools of thought, and
Yeah.
to break free from what you have learned in a higher learning institution, your experience on, medical floors or in clinics or any of those things, it can kind of be a little bit tricky to break that paradigm and learn new information as if it was like true, versus I'm going to learn what these other people are doing so that I can tell them why they're wrong. So
Yeah. I mean, imagine paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to go to medical school and
yeah,
then finding out what you were taught what had so much wrong with it. Like that would
yeah,
be you invested years and hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's going to take a lot to convince.
overcome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And beyond that, like the prestige of it, like I am a doctor, like that should mean something. I've worked really hard to get here. my opinion should mean it should be more valuable, And so I understand that there's a lot to overcome
Yeah.
in the mindsets of the medical professionals.
Yeah, it's
So
hard.
I imagine it would be very frustrating. And I think Dr. Barry has talked about that, about how he was, in the system writing the prescriptions, and it was his own health going downhill that, clued him in, like, there's something wrong with the system. And he had to write a book titled Lies My Doctor Told Me, and saying,
Yeah.
I was that doctor saying those
Yeah.
lies to the patients. And so it takes a lot. And
Yeah.
I respect greatly those who have broken out of that and,
Yeah.
trying to make amends for what the misinformation that they did spread.
Sure. Well, I mean, and Dr. Boz is the same, she's
Yeah.
an internist who has like all of this experience and knowledge, and she was able to, it took, her mother going through cancer to really shake up her paradigm and say, what do we do now? And I think that's it. I think the way that most people come alive to, or, they kind of not wake up, that's not really, like they just get invigorated by learning something new, is whenever it has a direct impact on their lives, whether it be one of their parents or themselves or their children or somebody that means the world to them. All of a sudden, they have a much more open stance to new information.
Right. Yep. I totally agree.
Okay.
Oh,
I feel like
Colorado FL girl says she went to nursing school and won't work in the field because the medical industry is not about health. It is very frustrating. Yeah, it is pretty shocking to look, and this is just outward appearance, and that doesn't mean everything, but to look at, I mean, I think of the doctors I've had over the years, if you look at them, they're not a picture of health. There's a lot of obesity, a lot of illness.
Yeah.
So, and again, not that physical outward appearance is everything. It definitely isn't, but it is something.
Sure. You can see a lot of disease on people, like people's bodies will display diseases often. Yeah. Okay. I feel like I'm probably gonna need to duck out to go continue on with schoolwork.
Yep. It is time to hop off. Make sure the children are still alive.
Yeah. My concern isn't their breathing. It's more or less, are they actually doing the tasks I gave them, or have we turned it into some kind of a wrestling match in the basement?
Yeah. Well, that's at least exercise.
That's true. PE might be happening. We'll have to
just switch to PE. I love it. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. Don't forget, we'll be over on Lindsay's channel next week. Yep. So if you haven't subscribed to her, go do that. And
same time,
that's it.
Different place.
Yep.
All right. Thanks, y'all. We'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.